be helpful in interpreting that section of the Municipal Government Act, in terms of getting involved in the operations especially, because there had been no reported cases on that section. His conclusion was that the municipality can adopt any policies for fire and emergency that are necessary and expedient for the provision of emergency services in the municipality. However, at this point, rather than developing policy in a vacuum, without fire departments at the table, and potentially creating something that would add to the pressures of our departments, I'm suggesting that there may be an opportunity to provide resources, and I don't know exactly what that looks like, perhaps through a consultant with some expertise in governance to help departments develop stronger governance based on best practices, so that all volunteers involved have a shared understanding of their roles and responsibilities, and that we share that understanding of their roles and responsibilities. It would continue the approach that, I think we've taken for many years, that we tend to be more collaborative than prescriptive in nature. It would also potentially relieve some of the pressures being felt by our volunteer department members. Fire departments are complex organizations to run. You're managing volunteers, your buildings, a fleet of vehicles, all at the same time while putting out fires. So I just wanted to provide some context about, how council's role has looked like in the past, what we're required to do under the MGA or not, and then open for discussion on potentially how we could support departments if we could. Maybe this is something, again, that we would like to refer to budget deliberations, but would be open to hearing from councillors on your thoughts on this, if you have any now, or if you'd like to kind of bring it back at another time. I realize that's just a lot of information.
So I do have a question really directed towards the folks who are in the Fire Services Committee. So has the issue of governance been discussed at any of those meetings? And if so, what did that conversation look like? And because my initial reaction would be certainly that that's something I'd like to see discussed there, because that's the whole purpose of that. And then take a bit of direction from the departments in terms of where they see us providing support
Right.
if they see us needing to do that.
Right. So I guess in speaking to the governance side, I was under the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they were okay with, I guess, the running each department independently. We all have a job to do, and we're all accountable, and I say we're because of the fire services, but each fire department is accountable to the county already with the stipulations we have in place in our policies. I understand that, in the past 2 months, there's been some upsets in 2 of the fire departments. However, you have to understand that out of the 10 or 11 that are ran throughout the county of Richmond, this is the first time in probably 30 years that either fire department had an issue. Again, I believe both departments followed proper protocol. Both departments went through their board of directors. Both departments sought possibly legal advice and took whatever measures had to be taken. I don't believe council's involvement would have made any changes or would have had any corrections, if that's what you're.
Well, no, that's not what my question was, and so I'll let you, maybe you know the answer to the question.
Well, I would reiterate, I've never heard that come up as a concern at the meetings, like at the fire
Okay.
services. The major issue is funding for several of the departments, and where we haven't really, obviously it's not an easy answer, but where we haven't been able to make significant headway on that, this is the elephant in the room here, that there are departments struggling to survive, and that's been the main area of focus, really, is trying to
Of the committee.
come to some kind of conclusion how that could look, The payment policy as we passed tonight, that was something else we had discussed on a
Yep.
few occasions as well. And a lot of that was just a matter of making it uniform so everybody knew what to expect. And I like the policy only because it creates clear guidelines for everybody, and I think that can eliminate a lot of, miscommunications going forward. This makes it easy. As far as the governance structure, I don't believe it's anything can ever recall coming up at the Fire Services Committee meetings.
Okay, so you're not recalling it ever being a discussion, an agenda item or anything?
No.
So, I mean, for me, I would agree, I do feel like we've agreed that the Fire Services Committee is is, you know, that we would sort of allow them to work as they were intended to work, right? Is to help us understand better what happens in fire services. And I can appreciate the fact that they've been very focused on the financial piece and all of that. But I think that we do need to ask perhaps that, understand maybe, Councillor Digdon, are you the chairperson of that committee?
I am correct.
So, I mean, would it be appropriate for us to maybe ask for you to add that to the next agenda, just to have that
Oh, definitely.
discussion with the
Yep.
group to say, you know, because I also know that many departments have a very different governance structure, right? So some have boards of directors, and then they have their operating members, and some, they combine those together, and some have lots of policies, and some don't have any. So
Right.
I think having that conversation, and then see what their feeling is about it, and in terms of, is that something that they would like to see, you know, would they like to see, like other things, a bit of a uniform structure to that we could help to coordinate? Because, you know, to the warden's point, perhaps what we need to do is budget for someone to gather all of the policies together and all of the structures together and then work through that. I recall some of that, I think, was discussed in the fire services report, but it's been a bit since
Yeah.
I've looked at that. But I just, if the departments are feeling like it's something they need help with, then I think we should think
Yeah.
about where we're gonna move from there. But if they're not feeling like that, then, you know, I would be hesitant to push something on them that they're not looking for or needing, feeling that they
For
need.
sure.
So, yeah, I agree. That's definitely something we can bring up at our, on the next agenda for the fire services meeting.
When is your, sorry, Councillor Digdon, when is your next Fire Services Committee meeting? Is there one scheduled?
So we'll have to schedule one probably coming up in the next month. We held off because it was virtual and there's too many people. There's too many, with the policy we just passed tonight, we couldn't hold it. No, but there's too many players, I guess, to try and do a virtual meeting.
Okay.
So it has to be
And I would say specifically, you've got some folks at that table who would have serious internet connectivity challenges.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But going
So-
back to you, Councillor Sampson, you know, like with this policy we just passed tonight, and this annual reporting checklist, and, you know, the breakdown of how the finances are broken down and distributed, I think that's a big step forward, you know, as long as people are all on the same page when it comes to this policy and are aware of this policy. Maybe that's something that you guys can bring up at the next committee meeting. I think where Councillor Melanie Sampson is going is when it comes to the governance part of, you know, I don't wanna use the word turmoil, but I guess I'll use the word turmoil when it comes to the departments, right? And for me, I'll go back to my campaign message, to the point where what's good for one district is good for Richmond, and what's good for Richmond is good for all districts. And we would have to, if we were going to get involved with the governance, to make sure that everybody's on the same page, then it would have to be something that all departments are happy with, right? So, you know,
Yeah, and
that would be my,
I guess I would add to that, that it wouldn't necessarily mean that the governance structure at each department must look the same, but
Right.
it must be based on best practices. And I think the problem with good governance is that you don't know that your policies are
That's right.
not up to snuff until it's too late sometimes.
Right.
And I think we, you know,
Yeah.
our volunteers deserve better than that, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just where my thought was going, but
Yeah.
happy to, you know, refer that to Fire Services Committee.
Yeah, we're
councillors,
happy
if
to
that
bring it
makes
forward,
sense.
honestly.
Yeah, like as a
too.
starting point,
makes
that's where,
great
for,
sense.
for me,
Yep.
that's what I'd like to start with. That's just my opinion.
So I guess
Yeah,
my
and
question
like
I would
you-
ask,
like you alluded to, Councillor Melanie, you know, all departments are, you know, doing things differently. Some have boards, some don't have boards, some
Yep.
are just, you know, running things themselves, and.
Right, and some have members who have experience in governance, who have been
Yeah.
very interested and involved in the creation of those pieces.
Right.
And some departments, you know, to your point, Councillor Sampson, is they're just trying to survive. So governance has not been a big deal for them,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And they've perhaps been fortunate that they haven't had issues, that they haven't had policies to back themselves up with, right? So I think, you know, again, I don't feel like it's something that we want to put on their plate. But I think we want to identify whether or not it's something they want to have, you know, they want us to help them prepare or not, or whatever, so.
yeah, and I agree. Maybe they're sitting in the back row just not asking that question, that they do want help, You know, so I,
Or
and
they
that's,
don't know
that's,
that, or they don't know that they want help.
right.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Again, my only other comment would be if some of them can't survive financially and we can't figure out a way for that to happen, none of this is gonna matter to them,
Agreed.
right? As important as this is, and I don't
Yeah.
wanna take that away, I think it's secondary to
Yeah.
some of the departments, especially in my district, that we need to try and work on a system or a solution that will help them,
Yeah,
you know, survive for years to come.
yeah, definitely.
And I believe, are we working on that system over budget deliberations? Is that part of our,
I imagine anything financial that will be through budget deliberations.
Nothing really moved forward, because we looked into what the situation was in Pictou, and
Yeah.
apparently it sounded as if they may have abandoned what they were going forward with there, so that's as far as we got.
Yeah. So, you know, that would be good information to bring back to fire services as well, to let them know that that piece of work was done, that research was done, and, you know, see if they have opinions on a potential way forward on that, you know. And, you know, yeah, I think that'd be great, and then maybe bring that information back to council, and we can kind of incorporate it into budget as well, so.
sure.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a note about honoring Warden Cranton. You know, and as I know that as all of you know, Laurie Cranton, the warden for Inverness County, who also represented constituents in District 2, the Grand Etang, St. Joseph de Moines, and Marguerite areas, he passed away earlier this month. And Dawn sent our condolences to the CAO and elected councillors in Inverness County, so thank you, Dawn, for doing that. But I also wanted to just take a minute to acknowledge it at this table as well. Warden Cranton was a native of Marguerite, and I always knew him through the years to be a tireless advocate for people with disabilities, whether physical or mental. He himself became a paraplegic harvesting pulpwood. A coworker felled a large tree, and with the noise from the heavy logging equipment, Laurie couldn't hear the warnings that it was falling in his direction, and he resulted in a permanent injury to him, and he was in a wheelchair for many years. He was definitely a force, though, in his advocacy for improved accessibility, roads and bridges, and recreational trails in the county. He was a founding member of the Marguerite Highlanders Snowmobile Club. He did research with the provincial government on off-highway vehicle strategies as chair of a ministerial advisory committee for off-highway vehicles. He also served as president of the Cape Breton Island Pathways Association, which aimed to develop a network of multi-use trails through the island. Warden Cranton set an example for all of us with his work at council. And though I know Inverness County will be feeling his loss for years to come, he leaves a legacy of determination, I think, kindness and support, and of course, advocacy. So I just wanted to take a moment to extend our condolences to council and staff at Inverness County, and also to Warden Cranton's family on their loss this month. So councillors have anything to add, or? Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. So the next item on our agenda is acting collectively. Our age-friendly grant has been approved. So I know I've been bringing this back into the council table a number of times over the last couple of months. Just as a reminder, we were selected by Dalhousie to participate in their Acting Collectively research project. The project is focused on aging well in communities. At the last meeting, I mentioned that the project is proceeding and that Michelle McPhee and Claire Doyle would be taking the first round of assessor training. Super happy to report that we have secured $22,371 in grant funding through an Age-Friendly Communities Program grant. The majority of the budget will be used to hire a resource person or persons to conduct assessments with seniors. And we have two options at this stage moving forward, and I would like to get council's feedback on. We could look at directly conducting the work through, our existing municipal structure, and directly contracting someone to do that piece of work. The other option is that we could contract an organization to conduct the work. In the past, we've looked to the Dr. Kingston Memorial Health Center to assist with these types of projects. The project budget for this project allowed for 800 hours of project coordination effort at $25 an hour. I checked in with Sherry and the team there to kind of discuss the opportunity of maybe having them be the contracting agency on this for us. And they felt that they could provide 170 hours of project coordination, which would take care of all of the financial and project management for a total of $4,250. So it would still leave lots and lots of room for the the work to get done, the assessment and all of that. So, you know, my feeling is that this would be beneficial in that it would not place an extra burden on any municipal staff. It would provide the health center with revenue, and it will likely result in the best possible outcomes by hosting this project in close proximity to our senior safety and social inclusion coordinator, who's going to be integrated into the work as well. So the Sherry at the health center indicated that that would be an acceptable solution, should we choose to go that route. I did not make any commitments, but I did indicate that we would be making a determination on next steps and kind of discussing it this evening, so. So thoughts from councillors, how, you know, on that? I'm happy to take any questions.
I think that's a great approach, Madam Warren, with the Dr. Kingston. Like I say, it provides revenue for them, and it's close to home with the senior coalition, with everybody involved with the Dr. Kingston. So I think that's the approach we should take for sure.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Everyone's okay with that?
Yep.
I'd be willing to make a motion to that effect.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Brent Sampson. So the motion has been made to, I guess, contract the work for the Acting Collectively project to the Dr. Kingston Memorial Health Center for $4,250, representing 170 hours of project work, financial and project management. Could I have a seconder on that?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sean Sampson. Any further discussion?
So I just have one question, and
Yep.
only, I guess, to dot the i's and cross the t's. Do we have to send it out? I mean, I know we're making the motion for the money, but do we have to send it out in some sort of, not an RFP or something, but just, do we have to put it out there first, or are we allowed to pick an organization? I know we help fund them anyway, I just,
I don't, like, our purchasing policy would, I don't think would
like, I think,
necessarily-
are we under the limit of where we have to put it out for, not tender, but,
CAO,
Yeah, I'd
Marchand,
have
maybe?
to look to you, Don, for that.
No, that certainly wouldn't be a problem if council decides that they wanted to go that route, that's fine. We did collaborate with the Kingston Clinic on a grant last year that we applied for and received, and allowed them to do the work.
Yeah,
And the documentation that was required after the grant or the program was completed was on them, so they complied as far as I know. I'd have to confirm that with the recreation manager, because he was involved with it.
I remembered that precedent, and that's why it kind of came to mind
Yeah.
for this opportunity, so.
Yeah, so we were able to do it there, and that was, if I'm not mistaken, it was 9,400, I believe, somewhere around that amount. So I think we'd be okay with that.
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah, like, do you see anything that, any flags that we're maybe not seeing? Like, to me, it all sounds wonderful, and I know we've worked with them on projects previously, but I guess I'm just, you know, from an administrative perspective, is there something that we should be thinking about here?
Not not on the surface
Okay.
right now. I'm not really sure how the whole project is gonna
Yeah,
play itself out, so.
okay. Yep, okay, thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. So the next item on the agenda is correspondence. There are several items for information purposes only. There's a thank you from the Cape Breton Regional Hospital Foundation. They're thanking us for our continued support. And so it was a lovely card, and thank you, Yvonne, for sending that, including that in the package. The next item is from the River Bourgeois Mariners Society. And again, it's a note of thanks for our continued support for the Popa Run, and approval this week, I guess, for the maintenance, for the work for the maintenance on the docks. And then the next item is a thank you from the Richmond County Early Childhood Education. And that is appreciation of the grant donation from that group. So Any questions on the correspondence? Okay. Great, okay, so the next item on the agenda is the review of action items. Any questions from councillors on those action items? Okay. We'll be able to mark some of those complete with the policies that, we've passed this evening, so that's great. The next item would be items added to the agenda. So the first of those, I'm just gonna go back and check my paper here. The first of those items is a letter of support for Everwind Fuels. So I circulated to council a message that I received yesterday from Trent Vici. He is requesting a letter of support for his organization to proceed with their project. As you'll recall, they are the new owners of the former New Star Terminal. So would councillors, a draft letter of support has been provided. Would councillors be in favor of providing that type of letter of support? Or if you have any questions on it, I'm happy to answer them. It's a pretty generic letter of support. It just basically speaks to the start of a green energy industry in the region. He speaks about the facility reducing the region's carbon footprint, providing sustainable economic development, and a signal that Richmond County is actively supporting the new green economy. All right, so if folks...
You want a motion to?
Yeah,
I'll make
folks are
that
okay
motion
with
to, send that letter of support.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Could I have a seconder on that motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, that motion is carried. So the next item that we added to the agenda was community acknowledgements. And I do have a couple, so I'm just going to ask you to bear with me while I read through them. I got a very excited message today from, I think, the grandparent of a player, letting me know that the Straight Richmond Pirates U11A hockey team are the 2022 Cape Breton Cup hockey champs. Adam Marchand is the head coach and Natasha McDonald is the assistant coach. They defeated the Sydney Steelers 8-1 yesterday in Port Hawkesbury. So congratulations to the players and to all the volunteers who pour their hearts and souls and sweat, blood, and tears into minor hockey and volunteering during the hockey season. The other community acknowledgement is that the spring edition of the Seniors Take Action Coalition newsletter, Better with Age, was released this week. It's an excellent source of information on everything from protecting yourself from fraud to grants for organizations and individuals. It also has some very familiar faces this month, including a feature on former Richmond County Councillor Shirley McNamara. You can find the newsletter online on the Seniors Take Action Coalition Facebook page. I also shared it on my warden's page, and if you'd like a printed copy, I just wanted to let people know they could always reach out to either me, or councillors if you hear from somebody who would like a printed copy. If we can either provide that or send them my way, and I can get that to them for sure, as I know some people prefer that. So, any additional comments on either one of those items?
No, but I have one to add if it's okay.
Of course.
So just wanted, this past weekend, the St. Louis Parish recognized Debbie and Bobby Sampson for their many, many, many years of service to the parish. And I just wanted to personally thank them on behalf of all the residents who've benefited from the great work that they've done, both with the parish but also with the seniors in the community. They've worked very tirelessly creating community garden, some activities, particularly for seniors to get active through winter months and summer months. And Bobby worked a lot of years in baseball. So these are well-known volunteers in Richmond County. So just wanted to congratulate them. They've decided to retire from those duties, well-deserved retirement. And so I just wanted to congratulate them on that.
Great. Thank you, Deputy Warden.
So take Bobby off my baseball candidate list.
All right.
No, that's good.
Okay, so I think that takes us through the community acknowledgements. The next item on the agenda was notice to adopt the non-union salary administration policy. And so I'd be looking for a motion to provide notice to adopt that particular policy.
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Brent Sampson. Could I have a seconder on that, please?
I'll second.
Deputy Warden. Any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion is carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a note from, it's regarding the St. Peter's request for support under the Canada Community Building Fund, formerly known as the Gas Tax Fund. So we received a letter from Megan at the village to ask for consideration for a certain amount of funding to be applied for through that program. It would have to be applied for through the municipality and then disbursed to them. And we currently don't have any kind of real policy around how we handle those types of gas tax requests for the only village that we have within our municipal borders. I know that in other municipalities, there do exist policies that sometimes it's a certain amount every year or project-based or whatever the case may be. Specifically, they're looking for support with their community hub facility for this year. So at this stage, I feel that we do need some policy developed around it. So be looking for maybe a motion to refer it to bylaw and policy, but also to address it in a more timely manner, maybe through budget deliberations as well. So maybe two motions?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, or maybe we can do that all in one
Which one?
motion, to refer to policy and bylaw and budget.
Put me in this
We can do
motion.
that all at once, okay. So that's okay with you, Counselor?
Yeah, I'll make that motion. Yeah.
Okay. Counselor Sean Sampson, could I have a seconder on
I'll
that?
second that motion.
Counselor Mike Digdon. Any further discussion?
Question?
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. And I will follow up with Megan to let her know that we've started to move that ball. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is question period. I think I got everything. I don't think I missed anything on the agenda. All right, it's a busy one. So we'll just leave question period open for a few minutes, and the phone number to call in is 902-226-9885. And we'll leave a maximum of 10 minutes for this question period, and it does not need to be restricted. It says it's restricted to the remainder of the agenda, following the Committee of the Whole and Bylaw and Policy Committee reports. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, I'm not hearing the phone ring. So I guess we'll close it up for question period this evening. So now I guess motion to move us in camera would be accepted.
I'll make the motion to move us in camera.
Thank you, Councillor Digdon. Could I have a seconder on that?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Brent Sampson. Any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. And maybe we'll just take a short break for 5 or 10 minutes before we kind of get started. Okay.